Hey friends, it's Kirsten, and I'm really grateful you've joined today's video because it's going to be real. It's going to be raw, vulnerable, and radically honest. What I'm going to be talking about, if you couldn't tell from the title, is my experience naturally gaining weight after retiring from dancing professionally. I kind of always say retire because I was able to dance in a company for a very short amount of time before I had an injury happen that eventually led me to step away from dancing professionally. And since that time, a year and a half ago, or a little bit more than that, I have danced recreationally. And there have been some times where I take months off from taking class. So naturally, I've gained weight. And I want to be really honest about this topic because and this experience I've been going through, because I know that I'm not alone. I'm far from being alone in this. Gaining weight as a ballet dancer after spending probably years in an environment that eventually kind of might have brainwashed you to think that what you look like is equivalent to your value as a person, or what you look like is who you are. It's really hard to undo that. And it makes just the natural process of gaining weight, or for me, sustaining a healthier weight, it makes it really hard emotionally and mentally. So I'm going to be honest about what that's been like for me, not as an expert, but as just someone who's going through it. And towards the end and throughout the video, in addition to just sharing honestly some things I've been thinking about, struggling with, I will be sharing some things I've learned in case it's helpful for you if you're going through something similar. And I'm also going to be sharing some questions I've been asking myself, or reminders I've been giving myself, or old beliefs that I'm working to kind of dismantle, that if you join me in the process of adopting those practices and ideas, just like for me, I think for you it'll be healing. So let's get on with the video. And before I do, I just want to say again that if you haven't heard, I am launching an online program for injured dancers this November. It's called the Come Back Stronger course, and it is specifically designed to walk dancers through the injury recovery process so they can come back stronger mentally, physically, and emotionally. And you could read more about the course in the link in the description, of course. But I wanted to mention it because also there's a module in there for those of you who are going through an injury. I know how hard it is to reconcile your relationship with your body when it is causing you physical pain, and maybe your recovery has also led to a little weight gain. I do include a lot of guidance in there on how to take care of your body, truly, like take care of it. That is not a euphemism for eating like close to nothing, believe me. How to take care of it, how to restore trust in your body, and how to also balance staying in your best shape with accepting that a little fluctuation in your weight might happen. So I kind of walk dancers through all the gray areas and the fine lines that tend to come up throughout the injury. So if you're going through an injury, stay tuned for this November. I think that course is going to be tremendously valuable to you. And in other news, I also have a free resource I'd like to provide to you guys. I created a PDF that outlines 5 common mistakes that dancers commonly make during the recovery process that slows it down for them. I'm going to talk about in the PDF those 5 mistakes. I'll reveal what they are, and I'll talk about how to successfully avoid them so you can have a good recovery. So if you'd like that PDF, there's a link in the description where you can click on it, enter your email address, and you'll get that PDF emailed right to you. So without further ado, let's continue with me roasting myself. It's not quite a roast, but I'm being honest, and sometimes that's hard. So let's get on with that. So I just also want to express clearly my aim for this video. It's to really come alongside you guys in the process who also feel like you're still figuring out how to come to a place of peace with your body and to appreciate it for what it is, instead of constantly holding it to this older standard, maybe from your teenage years, or maybe you felt like the golden standard of fitness was when you were dancing all day and there's no way you could sustain that, but you find yourself wanting to look that way again. I'm so there with you. So my intention is to really inspire you guys to be radically honest with what's going on in your mind, and to challenge the tendency to think your body is the problem and you just need to fix your body to fix your emotions. Instead, I want to challenge you, just like I'm challenging myself, to challenge the mindset that is causing me to be upset when I look at myself in my size 6 jeans. I used to have size 4 jeans, and to see my body looking different, that can be hard, especially when I look different but I'm in the same context of a studio. That can be very triggering, and I'm personally trying to work through resolving that old trigger of feeling like I am not as beautiful or I should be ashamed of my body. I'm trying to reform that mindset that's causing me to often be upset or to have to work through some shame occasionally. So I want to lead in showing you what it looks like, hopefully, to be honest with myself, so that you can hopefully also seek healing and find healing in being honest with what's going on in your mind. And yeah, through that process of being honest, then you can ask yourself appropriate questions that will lead you to adopt a healthier mindset around your body. So that's really my goal. Let me tell you about something that recently triggered a very intense feeling of shame that actually revealed to me that there's a lot more work to be done on my sense of identity. There's a lot in how I identify myself that still is not, it's not healthy. It's quite destructive, and it kind of showed me that I'm not quite being the person I wanted to be, but that's okay because I could work through it and move forward. So what happened recently is that I was at a doctor's appointment with my twin sister, and we were both kind of doing our consultations at the same time because our appointments were back to back. And in the consultation, the assistant lady had to weigh both of us and take our body fat percentages. So she did my sister's first and then me. And when she was looking down at her clipboard, writing down my weight, she just goes, "She beat you." And I was really taken like off guard, taken aback, because I didn't know what she meant. So I said, "What do you mean by that?" And she kind of looks at me and she's like, "She beat you." Or I'm pretty sure what she said. It was such a confusing moment because I couldn't tell if she was saying I beat her because I'm heavier than my sister, or my sister beat me because she's thinner than me. But it was such a hurtful thing for me to hear, and no doubt that was super inappropriate on her part. But on the other hand, it was a significant moment because it led me to realize, after like shame just like it covered me, and it took me hours to get over that. After I went through that, it caused me to contemplate why I got so upset and affected by that. And what I realized is that in a moment, it challenged and almost dismantled an old identity that I've been holding on to for such a long time, which is that I am beautiful because I'm thinner than other people. Specifically, I've projected that onto my sister, which is awful to her. It made me realize that what happened might have been wrong for her to say that, but it made me realize that I have equated my value as a person and even who I am with what I look like. And since I don't look like that anymore, or I'm not thinner than so-and-so anymore, it made me question if I'm really the same person. That really shocked me because I kind of thought I was beyond that. I kind of thought I had worked through the old body image stuff a while back. And you know, I even had a video in 2017. I talked about my health journey, which is really kind of like my relationship with my body journey. And I made that video when honestly I looked exactly the way I wanted to look. And so I was able to say, I have a great relationship with my body now. I love it, and I'm not restrictive with my food. And sure, those things might have been true, but it was so easy for me to say back then because I looked exactly the way I wanted to look. Some things I have had to really come to terms with over the last year and a half since I have stopped dancing professionally. I've had to make the conscious choice to accept that my life has changed and my priorities have changed. even though it's been so hard to feel like my identity and my self-worth have been challenged because I'm, God forbid, 4 pounds heavier. Like literally, you guys, all this is because I'm 4 pounds heavier and my body fat percentage went from like 16, 18%, like very low. It might have been lower than that. I don't remember, to 25. Like my body composition has changed. I look different. I'm a different size in my jeans, but like ultimately that's so small compared to some of the mental shifts that have been required to like start to come into acceptance of this is, my body is not who I am, but like also I want to get to a place where I can fully accept and appreciate and be so grateful for the body that I do have and not want to hide it, because I could say my body isn't who I am, but that can also be kind of coming from a place of like, I don't like what I look like, so I'm just going to not place any sense of identity in my appearance. And though I don't want to identify with my appearance, I also want to get to the place where I am, I believe, appropriately grateful for 2 legs to walk on, a body that can dance. I don't know if it's like weird to say this, but I believe I am beautiful. And I don't want to say that in a way that then attaches me again to I am confident because I look a certain way. Because that's what's been so challenging. I've felt, and I really hate this about myself, not myself, but like I hate that I do this. Let me correct that. Because I don't have any hatred towards myself. Like I feel grateful for that. But one thing I've noticed that I really don't like, I'm really not proud of it, and it's embarrassing to say, is that for so long I've judged myself for what I look like. And I've told myself, I've been on the winning end of looking a certain way. I've looked the way I've wanted to look for most of my life. No matter what it's taken me to get to looking that way, I've liked it. I've been successful in doing certain diets or any attempt basically I've had to lose weight. It's been successful. And so there have been many, many years where I look exactly the way I want to look. I'm not proud of how I was so prideful. Like a lot of where my sense of self and self-worth came from was from what I looked like. And then that judgment I placed on myself and that value judgment I've created caused me to then project that onto other people. And that's where I draw the line. I do not want to live a life where I am so obsessed with myself and what I look like that then naturally I can't just remove that filter of judging myself when I look at other people. I've started to, well, I haven't started, like it's been this way forever. I've naturally looked at other people, and though I can appreciate everyone for certain things, I'm not going to lie to you and say that when I've wanted to feel more confident, I haven't looked at another woman and said, well, at least she's bigger than me. And that kills me to say that. I am so ashamed of that. I hate that. That's not the kind of person I want to be. But I've had to come to terms with this as I've become a little bit of like one of those women I used to judge, which is so sad. I'm so sad that that's the kind of lens on life I've had and lens on other people, because I want to see the dignity and value in other people a bit more than that, But I just want to share that I am not better than that, but I want to be. I want to change. And so if you felt like you're in the same boat of placing such judgment on yourself that you also notice it's affecting how you see other people, let's both commit to change, because that is just unacceptable. And I can understand where that construct came from, and I could blame it on my ballet training. I could blame it on other people, but ultimately, I take full responsibility for adopting that and perpetuating that mindset. I take full responsibility for it. And I think that's where healing starts. I take full responsibility for the choices I've made, for the lens on life that I've chosen to adopt. And only after taking responsibility can I actually start to change. So I want to invite you guys to do the same thing, even though that kind of killed me to say that. How are you looking at yourself in the world in a way that you just don't want to tolerate anymore? You don't want to be that person. Be honest with yourself, and let's both rise up. The other thing that's kind of spun out of that sense of judgment for myself is that it's been really hard to completely let go of the idea that I could look the same as I did. It's been really hard to not kind of just always want to change something about myself, or to kind of say, well, I might not be actively trying to lose weight right now, but I want to. I don't think I've really gotten to a point where there's like nothing I want to change in this phase of life. And that's really hard. Then the next thing I naturally need to talk about is how, and this is something that has actually really helped me, is to understand that consciously I choose to let my priorities change. Not let them, to change my priorities. And naturally, if I'm being honest, if ballet isn't number one, my physical fitness, my health is still important, but health and being skinny are two different things. Let's separate that right now. Naturally, my upholding of this like certain standard in my body and being super thin, that needs to also be put way at the bottom of the list, if it's on the list of my priorities at all. Just because I've consciously decided that my priority isn't being a ballet dancer anymore, and it's not even my primary identity anymore. It's not an identity, it's something I do. And that's been very healthy for me, to have that separation of ballet is something I do and it's something I love. And the people who I've met through ballet, I love them so much that even if I don't know you, you're a part of this global community. My priority now is to serve that community, to be a person who is selfless, generous, the person who wants to help the people who feel helpless. I want to help the community of people I empathize with. I feel there's a huge opportunity for service in the ballet industry, and I want to be a part of that. But I'm also simultaneously fighting this desire to still exist within that space as a dancer, and what that has meant is I want to look the same way as I did because that made me feel good. But what has helped me is to remember in the moments where I'm like, oh, I don't like the way my body looks, I want to change it. I count the cost of what it would take for me to change it, and I ask myself, is that worth it? And is that in line with my priority in life? And no, it's not. However, even though that has helped me in the moment to decide to kind of like back off and not like be obsessive about my diet or go spend an hour I could spend working out, though it's helped me stop from engaging in behavior that's not super great, it hasn't fully resolved this desire to be different and this desire to hide. I've fought letting go of that old standard of what I wish I looked like. And since it's been so hard to let it go, I feel like until I'm able to fully let that go, I won't be able to say, no, I'm not going to hold off the idea that, or hold on to the idea that, I'm just always going to keep trying to lose weight. That's always a part of the goals. Yeah, of course I want to change something. No, I want to let go of that desire to change things because my body is fine. And my body is representing some really healthy changes I've had in my life. And actually, this is something I want to share with you guys that has also been really helpful to me, which is when I have a moment of looking at myself in the mirror or putting on some clothes that used to fit well and now it doesn't fit that well, when I have those moments of instant disappointment and dismay or even shame, I observe what meaning I'm making out of the change in my body, which traditionally would be, I'm not as good as I used to be. I'm ugly now, or something like that. I don't tell myself I'm ugly, but I say I'm less beautiful. Instead of really falling into the trap of thinking I'm less beautiful or making that into this meaning of I've let myself go or anything that connotates that this is a negative change, I stop myself right there and I then assign a positive meaning to this change. And I mean it very genuinely. I'm not a fan of just saying things that are positive when you really can't believe what you're saying. I think it's important to be authentic with ourselves, but in the moments, I really can get behind the statement that this change in my body means that I am becoming a healthier person. It means that I have the energy now to focus on serving people, for living for then for living for things that are bigger than myself, more than myself, beyond myself. This means that I am becoming less attached to my image. Like whatever it is, whatever I need to tell myself in that moment, I remind myself that this is a positive change or a positive challenge. When I'm having a really hard time, I'll tell myself is, this is teaching me to let go of the things that don't matter. This is teaching me to let go of an unhealthy sense of identity. And that has really helped me to just reorient the way I'm thinking about this change in my body and to kind of find peace in it. So I could talk forever about some other things going on in my mind, but I want to keep this more concise. I think that was some of the biggest things, but I want to share with you guys some things that I've learned and some tips I want to give you guys for joining me in this journey to restoring a healthy sense of identity around your body. The first really big thing I've learned is that focusing so much on what you look like and wanting constantly to change the way you look or to be so concerned about how other people see us, it's so self-centered. And that's not the way I want to live. I don't know about you. And I'm not saying that all focus on health, or even if you have goals for getting down to a certain weight, whatever, not all focus on your body is bad. I'm not saying that, but there are times where it is unhealthy and inappropriate. Like for me right now, there's no reason I need to look the way I did when I was dancing all day, every day. There's just no reason. And it would take far too much energy away from the things that matter in order to attain that figure. It's actually really selfish of me to be so obsessed with the way I look and to not only judge myself and to be so concerned with what I think about myself. It's like all myself, self. It can be so self-centered, and that is something that's repulsive to me. That's not who I want to be. It's important to recognize that kind of mentality and behavior for what it is. And it challenges me to be more selfless. Maybe to have a moment where I give myself grace and permission to be healthy, but then I divert that attention to service or something bigger than myself or outside of myself. And finding purpose and meaning and confidence in those things rather than just the way I look is really healing. The other thing is obsessing over what other people might think about the way you look can also be quite self-centered. I mean, it's understandable. A lot of us have just over time adopted that way of thinking, but when you become aware of how often you're concerned that other people will see this or that or not see this or that about you, again, it could be very selfish, self-centered behavior. Don't assume that other people are always looking at you or know everything about every inch of your body and care. I've had to just kind of give myself a little spanking with that lesson many, many times. The other thing that has been really crucial for me to remember is that I need to be aware of the standard I'm holding myself to physically and to question that standard. And something I've caught myself on over the years is looking at my teenage body and not only wishing I looked like that, but thinking I should. It would be better if I was, and in fact, I might be happier. And that is such a lie. I want to, and I think we all need to be embracing our adult bodies and knowing that an adult body has a different biology. I don't know how to say it. I'm not a science person, but it has a different function than a teenage body. We have adult bodies for a reason. And to hold myself to a teenage standard would be to revoke puberty. And in many ways, I pretty much did revoke puberty with my diet and my disordered eating. You guys, I'm still working through some hormone issues from just overworking my body and underfeeding it. Still working through the consequences of that. And who knows how long that will take. I probably will have to take thyroid medication for the rest of my life. So The other thing is just to realize there are consequences to your thinking, your mentality, and every action you take. It's very important to recognize the short-term goals that you have and to think ahead of the long-term consequences that might come as a result of that. Even the consequences for me now, if I seek to pacify my emotions and solve the emotions by seeing my body as a problem and fixing the body problem to fix my emotions, I'm not fixing this mentality that's going to keep me in a cycle of constantly wanting to lose weight every time I go up an ounce. I don't want to be trapped like that anymore. I'm really tired of it. And I see this mindset has a tremendous consequence for me, and I'm ready to let go of it. So even if your short-term goals are like to lose a certain amount of weight, contemplate what you have to do to get to that weight, and contemplate if you want to keep with that diet, that exercise regime forever. And if you don't, realize that you're going to have to deal with the consequences of eventually your body going up to its natural healthy weight again. You're going to have to face it eventually. And so even though that might feel dark and dim for a lot of dancers, the next point is to embrace your body's natural equilibrium point. It's okay if your body has a certain healthy weight that it can sustain while dancing. And if that's different than when you're not dancing, that would be totally understandable. For me, I had a certain weight when I was dancing where I noticed I could maintain that weight while eating until I was full, having some days where I ate junk food, and generally being happy with my diet and not obsessing about my food. So I sought to maintain that weight and to not desire to go any lower than that. Now, currently, I'm still coming to terms with my current healthy weight, the weight I can have with not over-exercising or trying to control my diet too much, because I just don't need to be devoting my mental and physical energy to that right now. It's not important for me. So that's why I'm really trying to resolve this mindset. Don't assume that you're going to be happier when you're thinner. Just deal with the root of where these hard emotions you're feeling are coming from. Deal with it. It is challenging, but it's important to question why you're believing what you're believing, why you're doing what you're doing, and thinking what you're thinking. And that's my next tip. Ask yourself lots of questions about the behaviors you're trying to engage in or the ways of thinking you're trying to engage in. Is it really better to be thinner? Let's question that. I think it's a completely arbitrary human standard of what is beautiful. That's arbitrary. It's made up. Let's remember that. Now, the ballet industry has a certain standard for physical fitness and thinness that, I don't really agree with entirely. But does my opinion change the reality? It really doesn't. I hope for change. I would love to work for change. But currently, there is a certain standard that might vary from company to company, but you're supposed to be thin. I hate to say that. And so when you're in ballet, yeah, you might have to uphold to a certain standard, but honestly, if that is not possible for you, please consider what environment you can put yourself in or what job you can put yourself in that allows you to thrive and to be healthy and to be happy. If you are putting yourself in a work environment, a dancing environment, training, whatever it is, where you are constantly triggered to want to be thinner than you are, and that's not healthy, it doesn't just have to be regarding weight. If you're in an environment where you constantly feel like you're supposed to want to be something you're not, that's not a healthy environment for you. I would encourage you to not convince yourself that you're just supposed to cope with it. I would argue to challenge if it's worth it for you to be there. Trust that there is somewhere for you, whether it's a new ballet school, a new company, a new job outside of ballet, somewhere where you can actually thrive. It is possible. So hold out that faith for yourself and trust that even though the transition might be difficult, it is worth it to be able to just be. And from your, releasing your energy from self-hatred and trying so hard to be something that you're not or look like something that you currently don't, you will have so much more energy to do things that matter and to do things that are fulfilling and purposeful. So I just want to encourage any of you guys who feel like your current environment does not foster the kind of personal growth that you want to see. As corny as it is, True beauty does really come from the inside. It is so corny, but it really is true. I think the most beautiful people I've ever seen are ones that just exude love. They are beautiful because they are focusing on and cultivating in their lives and growing in the things that really matter. Outward beauty is something that fades, it goes away. If you're living for that, like I have been, you probably don't need me to tell you it's torturous. And so I am personally working to invest more energy in the things that matter and to be able to look at myself in the mirror and to not have to, like I'm currently doing, like talk myself down out of saying like, I'm grateful for my body and like still struggling a little bit on the inside. I want to get to the place where I just don't have to think about my body. I'm grateful for what it's able to do and the life it allows me to live. Yeah, I'm really trying to focus on the inner beauty while also not putting all my focus on myself, because that's where I think real freedom is going to come through. So you guys, that's all for today's video. I really hope that it was healing for some of you guys. And if I said something that felt a little bit off or not true for you, I am sorry. I'm trying to speak from my own experience. And if something in my experience or the way I'm talking to myself is really disagreeable to your journey right now, I am sorry, but I do really hope that for the people that this video is really for, who are, you're probably the people in my situation, like you're not really focusing on ballet 100% anymore, but you're just dealing with the aftermath of your body changing. I really hope it was a blessing to you and that we can all rise up together. So, love you guys. I really wish you the best. I really hope that we can all heal from this and put our energy towards things that are really fruitful. So, with that, I will leave you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.